historic margins, and we recognize that as a mandate to keep working and building on the foundations of what we've been working on, but certainly to be forward-thinking and innovative. And so over the last 5 years, the governor has counted on the support of so many people in this room and outside of this room to make sure that together we can lead Florida in a direction that people are proud of. So again, we are confident that Florida has led the way on so many areas and so many initiatives. We've been a model over the last 5 years for the rest of the country, and dare I say, an envy for the rest of the nation. I have the opportunity to interface with lieutenant governors from across the country, and they're always asking me about legislative initiatives or policies that we've championed. And of course, I'm happy to oblige them by giving them information and telling them, yeah, Florida did that. Yeah, we led on this. But it is indeed a source of pride for me personally to be able to talk about all the great work we're doing. And as we know, Florida's economy is thriving. We're booming. We are a nearly $1.5 trillion economy. We're #1 in net migration. That is, for some people, not necessarily a great thing, because that means more people on the roads, more people around town, harder to buy a house. But what I'll tell you is people across the country recognize that Florida is where they want to be. And what you've seen is also we're #1 in entrepreneurship, #1 in talent development, and #1 in new business formation. And that should be music to the chamber's ears, because we are indeed the nation's fastest growing economy. And if we were our own country, sometimes I wish we were, we would be the 15th largest global economy. So with this thriving economic climate, we can see why people are truly flocking to Florida. And of course, we've always been known for tourism, and we're proud of that. Last year, we are confident that we will surpass the previous year's 2022 numbers with 137 million. When we're all said and done, we're confident that the 2023 numbers will have surpassed once again, and we will hit those records every year because, again, the rest of the country wants to be in Florida, especially when we're seeing snowstorms blanket the country, and we've got a beautiful day like we do today. One of the other areas I'm very passionate about is education. We're #1 in education, #1 in educational freedom, #1 in parental involvement, #1 in school choice, and of course, very proud that we have the #1 state university system in the entire country, 7 years running. So I graduated from Florida International University. I also sometimes ask if we have any Gators in the room, any Seminoles. Undoubtedly, there's a lot of back and forth, so I haven't seen anyone cringe yet, but we are very proud of all our state universities and the work that they're doing in educating and forming tomorrow's leaders today. So indeed, we're leading in so many different things, but one of the areas I wanted to touch on is the space industry. Of course, we know that Florida is the launch capital of the world. We've been the launch capital for the entire time in our rich history with, of course, Kennedy Space Center over in Cape Canaveral. But one of the areas that I'm proud to talk about is that we're really expanding and diversifying our footprint in space. We're no longer just focused on rockets and looking up, which is a beautiful sight, but we also want to be known for research, advanced manufacturing, technology, it's national security, and of course space tourism, which is something, if you had told me a few years ago that we'd be having serious conversations of what we're going to do to encourage space tourism, I wouldn't have believed you then, but I'll tell you what, I'm a true believer now. And of course, as chair of Space Florida, I have the opportunity to work with great community leaders, state leaders that are focused on accelerating our footprint, accelerating our progress. And what I'll say is in the next decade, the space industry is slated to be a multi-trillion-dollar economy. And Florida is uniquely positioned to capitalize on that growing industry and really to continue leading on so many facets of the space industry. And what we've seen through Space Florida is that we've been able to add $5.9 billion to the state's economy, and we're projected to yield through Space Florida, our project development, our business pipeline, over $1 billion annually to Florida's economy. We're also responsible for 20% of Florida's aerospace workforce through Space Florida. And we're excited to have closed last year on major projects such as the BAE systems in Jacksonville, Amazon's Project Kuiper in the Space Coast, and we've also expanded partnerships with major companies in the Tampa area, Orlando area, and of course in the Panhandle. What I often say is that people think of the space industry as solely being concentrated in Florida's Space Coast, And what I'll tell you is that is completely false. You can see evidence of the space industry from Key West to Pensacola. And we've actually encouraged Space Florida to look at some of our rural communities to see how we can encourage them to get invested and involved in space. Last year we had over 70 launches, and this year we're projecting more than 100 launches at Kennedy Space Center. As was mentioned in my introduction, I also serve as the chair of the Cybersecurity Council, and so when I took over Space Florida, my kids joked, oh, you're going to go on a rocket, you're going to be an astronaut. Then when I took over for the cybersecurity, they're like, oh no, you can't even fix your own iPhone. How are you going to be able to make progress on Florida cybersecurity? It's great. Kids are such a confidence booster, especially when they get into their teens and older. They think they know everything. But I'll tell you, since day one, the governor has prioritized investing in cybersecurity, recognizing that bad actors are always working to thwart state systems, to thwart local government. And so we have a responsibility to bolster our cybersecurity infrastructure, to make sure we're investing wisely. We have significantly invested over $460 million to modernize our detection systems, retire legacy systems, modernize and migrate to the cloud. And then, of course, one of the things that we're most proud of is that we were able to create the first ever enterprise-wide cybersecurity operations center. And so what I can tell you, having spent a little bit of time when I was in the legislature working on issues related to technology and cybersecurity, for a long time, our state agencies were operating in a silo. I know that's shocking to think that government operates in a silo. But when the governor saw this as an area that we needed to prioritize, he wanted to bring together our state agencies so we could create an enterprise type of system. So I'm happy to report that now 35 of our state agencies and departments are working within that enterprise system. They are coordinating, they're sharing information in real time, and they're embedded into our cybersecurity operations center. So that was a huge accomplishment, something we're very proud of. But in addition, one of the most innovative and bold ideas that the Cybersecurity Council came forward with is creating a local government cybersecurity grant program. And so last year, we unveiled this grant program. We encouraged local governments to apply. And we had hundreds and hundreds of applications, and we were able to get 66 out of 67 counties applied. I won't mention the one that didn't, but we encourage them to make sure that they apply next time. But we awarded over 190 entities with access to our industry-leading cutting-edge capabilities. We've embedded them as well into our CSOC, because hackers and bad actors, they don't distinguish and delineate between state government or local government. That's something that we've prioritized to try to partner with our local governments, because we understand that if they're exposed, if they have issues, if they have breaches, then that's something that could affect a Floridian. So